Let me begin this video by saying this. Everything said in here is based on what we already know from Drag Race about the queens that are going to be mentioned, and I can and I will give valid arguments for each placement that I mention. At the end of the day, it's just speculation, it's just a reality TV show, let's be nice. Now, the six-way lip sync. It was a very weird twist, quite really just there to be shocking and to light a fire under the queens' asses, which didn't really end up doing much given that the top 3 queens of the season were not affected by the said six-way lip sync. But it was a fun experiment, let's not do it again though, please. 3-way lip syncs? Sure, but let's wait at least a season before we do that. Just for the sake of the conversation, the 6-way lip sync didn't even need to happen. They could have just had Honey and Raja in the bottom 2, the outcome would have been the same. And before you ask, I'm not gonna make that video because not much would actually change. Scarlett would have still lost to Raja, Plastique would have lost to Vanessa, but yeah, Akira would have been eligible to win the season given that in that scenario she would have only been up for elimination once, but even that wouldn't change anything, Evie still would have won. However, what if the outcome had been different? So, in the one-on-one lip syncs, we can look at the result of it in a couple of ways. Both queens stay, one queen stays, and both queens go. Or, if we look at the results as proportions, all queens stay, half of the queens stay, and all queens go. For this video, we're looking at one queen stays result and half of the queens stay result. The 6 queens that were part of the first ever 6-way lip sync were Akira Chanel Davenport, Honey Davenport, Plastique Tiara, Raja O'Hara, Scarlet Envy, and Sugarcane. The dolls were called as safe, or rather, were told, Shantae you stay, in this order. Plastique, Raja, Scarlet, Akira, Suga, with Honey being the eliminated queen. Before we begin looking at these 2 new season 11s, let me just say that we're gonna have to disregard some rules that we know about Drag Race. So, the episode limit we have to not have in mind because in one scenario we'd have to bring back 2 queens, in another 5 queens, and then it just becomes a clusterfuck of nonsense. Also, for the most part, we'll be taking the challenges that are connected to the amount of queens that are there, so the top 6 challenge will be the Makeover challenge, for example. And finally, each season has to have a Snatch Game, a ball, and a Makeover challenge. Without any further ado, let's start. We will begin with the longer season. So, what if half of the queens from the 6-way lip sync had stayed and the other half had been eliminated? With that, we'd have a top 10 episode, the 4th episode, with Ariel Versace, Brooklyn Heights, Mercedes Iman Diamond, Nina West, Plastique Tiara, Raja O'Hara, Scarlet Envy, Silky Nutmeg Ganache, Vanessa Mateo, and Evie Oddly. This episode is going to be the Drag Olympics episode. First, the mini challenge. It was... I don't even know what it was about. I mean, I know what it was. The queens had to follow Love Connie as she did like a silly version of those 80s and 90s fitness home workout videos. And the 2 winners originally were Akira and Plastique. However, with Akira gone, let's guess who the second winner would have been. Now, out of the 9 other queens, only Brooke, Raja, Vanessa, and Evie could actually win this mini challenge, given that they are the queens that you'd actually see in the said home workout videos. Ariel too, maybe. And no, we're not body shaming anybody, we just have eyes. Out of those 4 or 5 queens that I mentioned, I and 2 other people that I showed the mini challenge to, we were the most impressed with Evie, and were confused as to why she didn't win the mini challenge originally, but hey ho, she wins it now. With Evie and Plastique as the mini challenge winners, they get to pick their teams, and since Akira picked first, Evie, taking her place, picks first now. Evie's first pick is Brooke, because of course, while Plastique's is Raja. Akira's second pick was Silky, but Evie wouldn't pick her ever, so she'd of course go for Vanessa, who was Plastique's original second choice. From here on, the rest of the picks are just guesses. So Plastique then goes for Ariel as the next best thing, Evie goes for Mercedes, whose performing skills are more or less on par with Ariel's, but Mercedes had trouble coming out of her shell on the season. Plastique picks Nina as the queen who's down for anything, as the winner of the previous episode's main challenge, and as someone who you can work easily with in a group. Evie's last pick is Scarlet, while Plastique is stuck with Silky. Looking at these two teams, I'd say that Evie's team would win, given that their only weak performer is Scarlet, but I don't think she could bring down the performances of the other four so much so that they'd lose. So Evie wins the main challenge as a team leader, and the rest of her team is high. I already hear some of y'all saying that I'm being biased and that Evie can't win so many challenges so early on, but Alexis Mateo in season 3 won 2 challenges in a row just 4 episodes in. Sharon and Ben de la Creme also won 2 challenges each by episode 4, so your argument is invalid. With the other team, Plastique and Silky are safe as the 2 best performers of their team. Ariel, someone who showed weakness when it came to learning choreography, would have been just low, because I think her runway would have saved her. And then we'd get Raja O'Hara and Nina West in the bottom 2. I know y'all love Nina, but she would have been eliminated here. Again, I already see the argument of, but Nina won the previous episode's main challenge, she couldn't be eliminated here, they wouldn't even put her in the bottom 2. Well, first of all, she was eliminated originally after winning a challenge in the episode prior. Second of all, Drag Race is no stranger to shocking eliminations. Third of all, she would not have been the first queen to win a main challenge in the beginning of the season and get eliminated soon after. Remember Madame LeQueer? Remember on China? And fourth of all, this was her runway look. She should have been arrested for violating our eyes with this. Episode 5 will be the Monster Ball episode. Raja wins the mini challenge. With not much to say here, let's immediately go into the queen's positions. Brooke is the winner, while Plastique and Evie take the high spots. The safe queens are Raja, Scarlet, and Vanessa. Now, we don't know what Mercedes would have pulled for the ball. However, she was low in the first episodes when she had to create an outfit, and for the most part her looks were subpar, so I gave her the bottom 2 placement with Ariel, with Silky being low. Mercedes beats Ariel in the lip sync. Episode 6, as it is the top 8 episode, is the Snatch Game episode. Now, we have 3 queens here who did not perform on the Snatch Game: Mercedes, Raja, and Scarlet. Mercedes wanted to do Cardi B or Aaliyah, but I think they would have directed her towards doing Cardi just because she's the bigger personality of the two. Also, they probably wouldn't want the possibility of somebody making a joke about Aaliyah's death. Raja wanted to do LaToya Jackson, and then she had another character, but let's be real, Rue would have asked her to do LaToya. Scarlett's Snatch Game character was Lucille Ball or Lana Del Rey. Mercedes, I think, would have done poorly, much like Brooke, Vanessa, and Evie, while we have seen Raja be funny when she had to improv, so I think Raja would have been one of the better Snatch Games. Scarlett will proudly tell you that she's an actress, and I think that she would have portrayed either Lucille or Lana really well, and there's comedy in doing both of them, so I'd put her up there with Silky and Raja. Here are the placements. Silky wins this, Raja and Scarlet are high, Plastique and Brooke are safe. I know, hear me out. The top 8 has to have 2 safe queens. I cannot make an argument out of any of the other 3 low queens being safe, so let's say that Brooke is safe just because of her runway presentation. Then Vanessa is just low because I don't know, I have no idea how she was just low originally too, but here she's low as well. I think that originally she should have been in the bottom 2, but that's not the point of this video. And then we have Mercedes and Evie in the bottom 2. Of course, Evie stays and Mercedes is eliminated. The 7th episode will be the Dragracadabra episode. With Vanessa winning the main challenge, she'll pick her team. So, of course, she goes for her friends first, Silky and Raja. She doesn't want to work with Brooke because of their relationship, and out of the remaining 3 queens, Scarlet was high in the episode prior, so I guess she would have taken Scarlet. Also, Silky, Raja, and Scarlet were the top 3 queens from the previous episode, so there's that argument to be made too. The other team then is Brooke, Plastique, and Evie. I don't think that with these teams and these queens, the performances would have been great, but passable definitely. I think that the second team would have been better overall, but no queen from their team would have won. I see Scarlet winning this challenge. I think that she'd perfectly embody the persona of Magician's assistant and have been the star of her group, essentially. I do see Silky, Vanessa, and Raja facing the same problem of relying too much on improv. Vanessa not as much as the other two. As you may or may not remember, she wanted to write some stuff down, but regardless, I think Scarlet would outshine them all. Brooke and Evie would work well together and have okay-ish to good jokes, with Plastique being the third wheel of their team. team, so Brooke and Evie are high, Plastique is safe. We gotta keep Silky out of the bottom too, so she doesn't embarrass herself, and us, the producers, I'm a producer now, so she's just low, and finally Raja and Vanessa are the bottom two, where Raja is finally eliminated. The top 6 episode is the Makeover episode. The 12 queens that we're going to have here are the 12 queens that were in the original Makeover episode, but just with different eliminated queens and competing queens. The top 6 of Brooke, Plastique, Scarlett, Silky, Vanessa, and Evie will have to make over Akira, Ariel, Honey, Nina, Suga, and Soju. With Brooke winning the mini challenge, she gets to pair up the dolls, and her strategy will just be similar body shapes will go together. For herself, she'd choose Honey, somebody slender but toned, much like herself. Vanessa will get Ariel, and Silky will get Soju. The other 3 picks will be a little strategic, but just like a little bit, with Scarlett getting Suga as like 2 New York queens, Evie getting Nina, and Plastique getting Akira. So Brooke wins the main challenge, while Vanessa is high. I see Scarlett doing a good enough job to keep herself safe, while Evie, much like she originally was, will be low. Now, up to this point, Plastique is the only queen that hasn't won a single main challenge, so this is her last opportunity to win it or she's going home. However, being paired with Akira, somebody who did not like Plastique and somebody who was notorious for starting shit on season 11, will be detrimental to Plastique. She and Silky would have been in the bottom 2, Plastique would have outperformed Silky, but would have been eliminated because it's Silky and because Drag Race hates people whose first language isn't English. You can quote me on that. The 9th episode is the top 5 episode, and here we have Brooke, Scarlett, Silky, Vanessa, and Evie. This episode is reserved for the Brooke-Vanessa lip-sync, so without making this longer than it needs to be, let's move on to the finale. First, these are the top 4's track records before the finale. I divided them into 2 graphs just so you can see more clearly, and as you can see, Brooke did the best, only by a point better than Evie, while Silky is the worst. In the finale, Silky gets to pick who she's going to go up against because she's the best person for the job. We know that she doesn't pick Evie, so let's look at the other 2 possible outcomes. In the first one, she chooses Brooke and loses to her, while Evie beats Scarlett. Now, in this season of Drag Race, Brooke can win the season, given that she only lip-synced for her life once, so Brooke gets the crown here. Of course, it's very possible that, regardless of her doing better than Evie, Evie wins it just because of her drag, just because of how much the audience loves her, and also the fact that Brooke's white. But we're keeping it competition-based, and in this scenario, Brooke did better than Evie, as I've already said, so Brooke gets the crown in my eyes. But if Silky picks Scarlett, she does beat her, barely so though, and Evie beats Brooke. I could see a double Shantae happening with Brooke and Evie, but I don't think they do it 2 years in a row. Evie gets the crown here, given that she did better than Silky, beating Silky in the lip sync, and concluding their storyline and the season with a satisfying ending. So, if in the 6-way lip sync, Rue had kept 3 girls, Brooke or Evie would have won the season. The Miss Cuckoo would have been Mercedes, I think. Staying longer on the season would have made the rest of the girls love her even more than they already did, and of course do. After the finale where Brooke wins, Brooke is statistically the best contestant, while after the finale where Evie wins, she is statistically the best contestant. Let's start immediately with a second what if. So, what if only one queen had been saved in that 6-way lip sync? The queen in question would have been Plastique. This means that episode 4 has 8 queens, so Snatch Game. Here, and again, Mercedes does Cardi B, while Ariel has said that she'd do Miranda Sings, but as Colleen Ballinger. She learned from Max's mistake. I watched Ariel's video of her doing Miranda, and she does a pretty good job at it. I think she would have been high, but that Rue wouldn't really laugh at her that much, just because we know how much Rue dislikes things relating to younger people and doesn't know them. With Ariel, Nina West is high as well, while Silky wins the main challenge. We again need 2 save queens, and I chose Plastique and Brooke yet again, and with that, the low queens are Mercedes, Vanessa, and Evie. Vanessa is kept as just low, while Mercedes and Evie lip sync and Mercedes is sent home. Oh, also Silky wins the mini challenge here. Episode 5 is the Monster Ball episode, and thankfully we have seen all of these queens' looks for the said challenge, so we don't have to guess. Now, the only thing we can ponder on is who'd win the mini challenge. Raja won the mini challenge originally. You know, when they had to create RuPaul Doll's best friend looks. Rue laughed the most at Raja's jokes and her look was the most presentable, so let's see who'd win it here. Well, Rue laughed the most at Vanessa and Silky, but Vanessa's look was more presentable, so I'd give it to Vanessa. When it comes to the main challenge placements, we have Brooke as the winner, Plastique and Davy as high. Nina is safe over Vanessa just because the concepts for Nina's looks were more interesting than Vanessa's, so Vanessa is low and Silky and Ariel are in the bottom two. Ariel again goes home. Episode 6 is the Makeover episode with Brooke, Nina, Plastique, Silky, Vanessa, and Davy, while the returning queens are Akiria, Ariel, Honey, Scarlet, Suga, and Soju. Brooke wins the mini challenge and pairs up the dolls like this. She takes Honey, same reason as before, Plastique gets Akiria, but this time only because the other girlies were already paired up. So, just like originally, Ariel's with Vanessa, Scarlet with Evie, Suga with Nina, and Soju with Silky. This is sadly the episode where Nina goes home against Silky, but, and again, similar reasoning as before, Plastique takes the low placement while Evie is just safe. Brooke wins the main challenge and Vanessa is only high. Now, yes, Plastique could have been given the storyline of she has to win a challenge. However, even if she did get the storyline, I don't see her doing such a bad job at a makeover as Nina and Silky did. The 7th episode, the top 5 episode, is reserved for the Brooke-Vanessa lip sync. So let's move on to the finale. Let's first look at how the top 4 in this scenario did in this short season. Brooke is still number 1, Evie is right behind her, 2 points behind this time though, 2 points behind Evie is Silky, while Plastique is 4th with only 22 points. If you are interested in any of their PPE scores, just divide these with 7 and the prior ones with 9. So Silky doesn't choose Evie, first she chooses Brooke, whom she loses against. Plastique and Evie have a great lip sync and Evie wins it. I could see Plastique winning this lip sync as well, but it doesn't matter because neither of their scores are better than Brooke's, so in the first scenario, Brooke takes the crown. As I've already said, there's always the possibility of Plastique beating Evie, or maybe even them being a double Shantae, but again, it doesn't change the final result of Brooke winning, in my eyes at least. The second option is Silky choosing Plastique and losing to her, while Evie beats Brooke. Again, I could see a double Shantae happening with the latter lip sync, but I don't think they do it 2 years in a row, so let's not do it. So in the finale, we have Plastique and Evie, and given that Evie's score is better than Plastique's, she wins. As you can see, the results are more or less the same with the first what if outcome. However, Miss Cuckoo for this season would have been Nina. No outro, like nothing. This is too long already. I dread having to edit this.